There we go. Right, so we are going to be looking today at writing an article. And it's all about writing an article to the exam board specification. So I have an example of one of the questions. Oh, wrong website. That's a good start. I was having a look at these earlier, and I particularly liked the look of this practice paper. So what we're going to do is we are going to have a look at the type of question, and then we're going to have a go at responding to it. Now, if I open up this document, apologies, we're talking about technological problems, and at 5 minutes to 4, my internet died. So everything on my laptop, I've had to start again. Luckily, it didn't take long, but this is what we're going to be looking at. So just to remind you, in the writing exam, you have 1 hour, you have 2 documents to write. And those 2 documents could be any 2 of these. They could be a formal letter, an advertisement feature, an article, email, leaflet, or a formal report. And obviously the key one that we're going to be having a look at today is article writing. So you can see in this right-hand column, I have taken this directly from the answer booklet, from the mark scheme, for what do we need an article to look like? What do we need to include to ensure that we are getting the highest marks possible, at least on how it looks, its appearance. Before we even look at the content and the quality of our writing, does it look correct? So the things that they would like us to include, the one in bold at the top, heading, is the most important one. A heading, also known in an article as a headline, similar as well to a title. We often have a subheading underneath and or sometimes what's known as a strapline. If you're unfamiliar with any of these terms, don't worry, we'll be going through them all. They also like to see use of bullet points and attribution, and potentially, although I don't know why they write this, columns. You'll see why I said that about columns in a moment when we go to have a look at one of the past exam papers. So the key ones in here, I think, are a headline, a subheading, bullet points if they're applicable, and an attribution. And I think if we include 4 out of those 6 things, we should be scoring pretty highly. So I'm going to keep this document open, then I can refer back to it. And I will also ensure that I send it out at the end of class as normal. So again, just going back to our reminder about the exam itself. 1 hour, 2 documents, both texts. One is worth 22 marks, the other is 22 marks. In total, we need 26 to pass. And it doesn't matter if you get 10 marks on one document and 16 on the other, or 0 on one and 26 on the other. It's the total that is important. We have 25 minutes to write one, 25 minutes to write the other, and then hopefully we have 10 minutes that we can split between planning at the beginning, thinking what are our ideas, and then checking at the very end as well. So we're going to have a look at one of the exam board's examples. So this is a past paper, but it's the best way to show you approximately what they look like in an exam. So this one here says that they want us to write an email and an article. Today we are focusing only on the article. So I'm going to jump straight to question 2. Now, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger, because I understand screen on the screen. It's not brilliant, but it is a little bit clearer. And let me just throw my chat onto different screen. There we go. That way I can see if anybody in the class asks any questions, I can actually see them now. So please type away if you have any problems. Now, with the writing exam, I always find it very helpful to have some blank paper and a pen as well, just because planning shouldn't take very long at all, but it helps to get some of your first ideas out of your head onto paper. Otherwise, we just start writing and they can disappear. So it says, write an article. You are organising an event to pick up litter in your local area and are looking for people to help. You decide to write an article for the local newspaper to encourage people. Encourage, another word for encourage is persuade. Okay. To encourage people to take part in the cleanup event. In your article, you should explain the benefits of taking part in a community litter pick, give details of how people get involved, and explain why it deserves support. And then we're given our word count of 250 to 350 words. So the first thing I'm going to do, I am going to write the word headline at the top, because for me, I use this almost as my planning notes themselves. I write the word headline and then it reminds me I must put a headline on there. It mentioned in this other document that we looked at that we need an attribution. Where's the article? There we go. Attribution. It's a very fancy way of saying our names. Basically, you say who the article was written by. And if you can, I think it's good practice, oh dear, to include the date as well. Now, once we've got our headline gives passers-by, it gives our readers a very, very small amount of information about the article itself. Then we look at the subheading for a little more information, and then we look at the article for all of the information. So we want to start the headline with something small, then we have a subheading underneath, and then we have our article. And our article should always start with some form of introduction, and then our 3 paragraphs. So it says the first one, they want us to explain the benefits of taking part. So I'm just going to write that on there as my reminder. Then I need to give details of how people can get involved. So I will put that on there as well. And then lastly, explain why it deserves support. And then we have at the end some form of conclusion. And we've said it before, if we're asked to write in the region of 250 words, then that's our minimum. So if we do something like 50 for each of these areas, it very quickly adds up to 250. Again, it's not an exact science. So if your introduction is shorter, but one of your paragraphs is longer, I think it helps me to sort of visualize, okay, 50 words, maybe 3 or 4 sentences. Okay, it makes it feel a lot more manageable if we can do it in small parts at a time. It's like eating a sandwich. We don't go all in one, we take bites. Okay, so I'm going to think about 3 things. I'm going to think about my purpose, my audience, and my format. So my purpose, why am I writing? I am writing this. It said to encourage people, to persuade people. So I'm going to think about what techniques I can use. See, I'm making notes. What techniques can I use in order to try and be persuasive? I'm going to go with my 2 favorites. I'm going to try and be a little bit emotive. So I will appeal to the emotions of my reader. I will try to make them feel that, cleaning our neighborhood is good for our heads, for our hearts, and for our environment. It's good for our children. It's good for our animals. And I'm also going to try and use humor as well, because it's my style. It's my favorite method of speaking, is to come across as friendly, positive, and not go too negative. I want my reader to feel persuaded and encouraged, and that taking part in this event is a positive and fun event. So I'm going to be thinking about my purpose. Why are we doing it? Our audience. Now, it says that I'm writing this for my local newspaper. Now, I think we would all probably admit that newspapers these days, as excellent as they are as a form of reportage, Most people receive their news electronically, online, either through going to newspaper, either by going to newspaper websites directly and getting their news from there, or from seeing things like on social media, you will see clues and things like that from various news agencies with articles, and you just click and read their articles. So I'm thinking that if I'm writing this to local people, it could be a variety of age groups. It could be a variety of like academic levels. It could be a variety of different sort of types of people as well, different social and socio-economic groups. So I'm not going to use any technical language. I'm not going to use any jargon. I want my writing to be understood by everybody who reads it. So I'm not saying I'm dumbing it down. It's not going to be super simple, but I will avoid anything I'm not entirely sure of, you know. So we've got our purpose, we have our audience and our format. The format, it's the first thing we addressed. What does it look like? So we've got some of our plan here, and I've written 3 words on my notepad. That's all so far. Now it says I'm going to write to the local newspaper. So a big one for me locally, the Sheffield Star, because it's more local than it is national news. So that works well. It's a local interest newspaper. Is there anything else that I need to think of? I'm going to talk about my local area. Again, you can talk about your real life local area or make it up. You can use your imagination. So I will just say Sheffield as a whole. It's a very big area. And then it also says provide details of how people can get involved. So I'm going to come up with a date. I'm going to say the 21st of August because I can't think of anything better. At 3 p.m. Why not? And I'm going to think about where are people going to meet. They're going to meet at a cafe. There we go. So again, we are not being tested on the truth of what we're saying. We're being tested on how well we communicate it. So our introduction, we are giving our readers an idea, a bit of detail about this. So if I'm going to be using some of my persuasive language techniques, I'm going to start with a rhetorical question. I'm going to ask my readers a question. I don't want them to answer me. I want them to think about their answer. That's all. So let's have a look. Our introduction, what can it be? Something I want to start them thinking about their local environment and litter, especially, right from the very start. So something along the lines of, is our area getting worse for litter, or is it just me? What alternatives could we have? We could also have something like, how much do you care about your local area? That's nice because that adds a little bit of emotion as well, almost a little bit of guilt. I prefer that second option. How much do you care about your local area? Because automatically people reading will think, yeah, I care. Yeah, yeah. So they keep reading, find out what the link is between the question I'm asking and the information I'm giving them. So how much do you care about your local area? Now I'm going to put in my introduction, I'm going to start it by giving a little bit of sort of generic personal information by saying, so if, like me, you love this city, why not take the time to join in looking after it? So I'm saying, I'm trying to make a connection between me, the writer, and the reader. So if, like me, You love this city. We love this city. Why not look after it? Then, to stop them panicking and thinking, oh, this is too much work, too much time, too much effort, it's easier than you think to make a real difference. In fact, leave it at that. It's easier than you think to make a real difference. Now, we've written, it says 75 words, and I understand a good amount of that is just my notes to start with. But as a sort of opening sentence, let me just do a quick word count. I'm not going to go through and read them all because there are only so many hours in the day. Let me, she says, taking forever. Word count 37. Do you know what? That's not bad. So although I haven't quite reached 50 words, it's already, some of those ideas are out and I can always add more to it later. So explain the benefits of taking part in a community litter pick. So I'm going to say it's social, it's fun, you can meet new people. To use some excellent sort of wording at the moment, reduce your carbon footprint. That's always nice. So it's social, it's fun, meet new people, reduce your carbon footprint, and make a difference. It looks good. And I've literally just written down those 5 things. Okay. The other reason why I write things down, even if it's just quick words, even like pictures or statements or just little things for me to remember, once I start writing, you'll notice that I go, refer back to it, and I can keep, it stops me from getting writer's block. So explain the benefits. The first one, it's social and fun. Coming to one of our community litter pick events is great fun. You can meet like-minded people, like-minded local people, and enjoy the day, making new friends with shared interests. Ooh. We also said you can reduce your carbon footprint. So I'm going to add in a statistic. It does not have to be true. So picking, picking litter is a great way to reduce your carbon footprint. For every 2 bags of rubbish you collect, you can offset your footprint by half a ton. I don't know, I can't quite remember exactly how your carbon footprint is worked out. Pretty sure it's in weight. So for every 2 bags of rubbish you collect, you can offset your carbon footprint by half a ton. Not only can you meet new people, have a lot of fun, make a positive impact environmentally, you can also help make your area look amazing. Okay, so we mentioned earlier that the introduction was it 37 words, a little bit shorter than the 50 we would like, but in the first paragraph, we've gone probably above that 50. Again, let's just have a quick check. It's not going to be huge, but 82. Okay, that's a great start. I know the exam system does count the words as we go along, but sometimes I think it can be really helpful to just have a look at the sort of the size of the pieces of text that we're writing. These are not massive. This is only 2 lines long. This is only like 5 or 6. So the whole piece is going to be maybe 30 lines long-ish. So we have explained the benefits. The next one says, provide details of how people can get involved. So if you'd like to get involved in one of our August events, please call or text our litter picking leader, and I'm giving a fake name, Stan, on 0124. There we go. Or join our Facebook group at litter picking lovers Sheffield. There we go, because we love litter picking. There we go. So again, that one's a relatively short paragraph. But again, by the time we've got to the very end, it will all add up. So I'm deliberately trying not to correct my mistakes as I go, just to show you that we will have hopefully plenty of time when we've finished to do that. So the next one, explain why the event deserves support. So again, maybe thinking about emotions. Our group has been helping to make the area beautiful for 15 years, and we need new volunteers regularly. Even if you are only available to help for 1 hour, your effort can make a massive difference. Now look at how many exclamation marks I've been using throughout it as well. I'm trying desperately to make it as enthusiastic and positive as I possibly can. So look, amazing and beautiful. I'm using lots of positive words. I'm not talking about the fact that you may be standing in the rain. I'm not talking about the fact that you might be put in a scary area of town. Not talking about any of the negatives, only positives in this one. I've tried to add some of those persuasive writing techniques, but again, we can check through for those as when we go through the mark scheme and check it. So our group has been helping to make the area beautiful for 15 years, and we need new volunteers regularly. Even if you are only available to help for 1 hour, your effort can make a massive difference. It's a great family bonding time. So feel free to bring the kids along, and we will supply their safety equipment. I can't think of a better word for the litter grabbers. Okay, the conclusion. So this is, what do we want from our readers? We want them to say yes. We want them to join in. We want them to respond to us and want to volunteer. So, are you ready to help restore the natural beauty of Sheffield? Thinking. Are you ready to help restore the natural beauty of Sheffield? It's a great fun day out. And just check my book, see if there's anything else that I can add to it. Oh, I haven't really mentioned where and when I can add that. Okay. Now, it's a good job I had made those notes, because otherwise our readers wouldn't know when or where this is occurring. Our next meeting will be in, I've just picked a random area of Sheffield. Our next meeting will be in Darnall on the 21st of August at 3 p.m. Meeting at the Riverside Cafe. That's the name of the cafe, so it needs capital letters on both words. Okay. It's a fun day out. So, are you ready to help restore the natural beauty of Sheffield? It's a great fun day out where you can really make a difference. Okay, so I know I've still got things missing on here. We mentioned at the beginning all of those techniques that we could potentially use in order to score the highest possible marks. So we know we need a heading and a subheading, fine. Now, I also said bullet points and an attribution. The one that we're missing is bullet points. So I'm thinking, what is there any part of this that is a list? Well, when I was talking about the benefits of it, so you can meet like-minded people, you can reduce your carbon footprint. So we've got 3 points here, which we should be able to. Oh, where's bullet points? Ah, there we go. So let's have a read through this. We'll have a look right from the very start. So our headline. Now, I like the fact that when I was trying to think of a name of a Facebook group, Litter Picking Lovers Sheffield. So people who love picking litter. I'm going to use that because it has a nice rhythm with the litter and lovers, litter picking lovers. Da, 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 da. It's got a nice rhythm to it, a nice sound. So I'm going to use alliteration in my heading. Alliteration, where we use words that start with the same sound repeated to create a rhythm and to create a sense, it makes it more memorable for our readers. So I'm thinking loving, litter, loathing, litter. To loathe means to hate. Loathe, litter, love, Sheffield, litter, pickers. So it's essentially a shortened question. Said loathe means to hate, means do you hate litter? If so, you will love Sheffield litter pickers. So loathe litter, love Sheffield litter pickers. Da, 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 la, 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 la. A headline, ideally should be in a larger font than the rest of the text, but as long as we include one, that's the most important thing. So anybody reading this will think, oh, loathe litter. I don't like litter. Rubbish is rubbish. You know, waste is not a good thing. I want to read more. So we give them in the subheading a little bit more information. So for 15 years, this group has been, God, I never thought I would do this. I'm going to steal a phrase from Donald Trump. Forgive me. This group has been making Sheffield great again. Makes me feel a bit sick. Okay, so there we go. So we have that a little bit more information. Your subheading doesn't need to be a lot. And like I say, I apologise for using the words of, yeah, for any politician. So for 15 years, this group has been making Sheffield. In fact, you know what? I'll just change it to making Sheffield great. Makes it a bit simpler. So we have our headline. We have a subheading. We have an attribution. And I think it's good sort of practice to be including a date as well. Then we have a short introduction. We have bullet points. We have another paragraph, third paragraph, and then our conclusion. And we are on 272 words. So I would be happier if I was doing this exam if I was closer to 300 words. However, once you've done 250, fine. You don't have to do any more. That's it. As I say, I just feel more comfortable getting perfectly halfway between 250 and 350. Halfway is perfect. However, it's not always possible. So what we're just going to have a look at is those, I mentioned persuasive language techniques. There we go. So if you look at the blue column down the left-hand side, these are the key bits of information up here. So using things like direct address or talking directly to the reader, saying you, we as a group, we as residents, it makes them feel very included. So rather than saying people can help pick up litter in Sheffield, it is fun. Say you can join us. It makes it sound a lot more personable and inclusive. We mentioned using alliteration in our headline. So the examples here, oh goodness, she sells sea shells on the sea shore. Say tongue twister, but it's a perfect example. Same as 7 sizzling sausages or a big bouncing baby boy. These are all examples where we have words that are all related and make sense together, but we repeat that same sound. Gives it a good rhythm. Want to try and include things like facts, which goes sort of in tandem with statistics. Now, we did mention some statistics about reducing your carbon footprint. So even though it's just one, it's a good example. So it's a good tick. After facts, we have opinions. So anything that is my thoughts or feelings or ideas. So if I say that this is fun, like this is my opinion here. If, like me, you love this city, I'm saying I love this city. That is my heart. These are my thoughts, my feelings. So we have opinion. I'm saying it's easier than you think. Well, maybe not for everybody. Maybe not for people who work many hours or have big families or responsibilities. It's entirely my opinion. So what's next on the list? Fact, opinion, rhetorical questions. I like to start my articles with a rhetorical question. It draws a response, even though we don't expect a response from our readers. It does make them think. So I say, are we having fun? And you either think, yeah, or no. But I don't expect you to answer me. A day like today, when it's so hot, you can walk into a room and go, how hot is it in here? I don't expect you to go, actually, it's 26 degrees. No, no, no. I don't want an answer. I am actually stating I am hot. I'm just doing it in the form of a question. We mentioned, I was going to say we mentioned statistics. I nearly missed emotive language. Anything that provokes an emotional response. So in this case, we could potentially make our readers feel guilty, or, that's everybody's responsibility. Everybody should help us to do some of this sort of community work, volunteering. It's good for your mental and physical health. It's bad for the environment if we don't. So you can make people feel bad for not joining in. The last thing on the list is a rule of 3 or a triplet. So whenever we have 3 listed items, so the example here, smoking is a filthy, selfish and costly habit. Or you could say litter picking is good for your mind, your soul and your area. There we go. So all of these techniques are used. I think there we go. I especially like the very last one. I had to remember it was on here. Anecdotes. It goes very closely with opinions. So anecdotes and opinions. An anecdote is a story from your own life. So I could say, I walked my dog in the local woods and there was rubbish everywhere, McDonald's wrappers and drug paraphernalia and graffiti and broken equipment. Again, in your exams, you do not have to tell the truth. So you can entirely make it up. But it adds a sort of depth to the piece that you're writing if you can add anything from your own experience. So we have used quite a few of those throughout. Don't have to tick them off and use all of them. If you are confident with maybe 2 or 3, great. You do not need to know them all. Those also help when it comes to the reading exam. You are often asked to find examples of rhetorical questions or alliteration or fact or opinion. So being aware of them all will help you in both exams, not just this writing one. Okay, so, don't want to go on to the exams info. We have written enough. We have checked to make sure that the layout is correct and all of those notes that I made at the beginning have been changed and we have created something from those notes. So whereas before I had a reminder that said headline, now we have a headline. We made a reminder for subheading, we have a subheading. We've got our attribution, brilliant. Now on the mark scheme, it also mentions having a clear narrative, like a timeline. When we read something, it needs to be in a certain order for it to make sense. For example, if we were following instructions to make a coffee, let's say it's instant coffee, you boil the kettle, put water in the kettle, turn it on, get however much coffee you like, put it into a mug, add sugar, add milk, whatever, add hot water, stir, blow, drink. If we put those instructions in the wrong order, it can entirely mess up, in this case, a coffee. But it would also mess up your writing as well. It stops being as clear. If I said at the very beginning of my article, we are meeting on this date, you would think, why are you meeting? We need to ensure that everything is in the right order. Hence, I always recommend introduction, cover the 3 points in the question that they want you to talk about, and then the conclusion at the end. Then it ensures it has a clear it has clarity and it has like a flowing narrative. It's in the correct order. So for example, if I started it by saying, if you'd like to get involved, call or text, join our Facebook group. If I wrote that at the very beginning, you'd be like, why do I need to contact these people? Whereas I have given you the information first. I have tried to give you some of the benefits, some details. Then I have given you the contact details. So it makes sense. I should have said making tea rather than making coffee, because tea is the one where if it's in the wrong order, everything, if you add milk before the tea bag, everything goes wrong. So everything is in order. We have answered the main points in the question, because it said they wanted us to do 3 things. They wanted us to explain the benefits, provide details of how people can get involved, and explain why it deserves support. Great. So we've done all of those things and it's all in the right order. Now, if we actually just have a quick check of, in fact, let me see if I've got one on here. NCFE exams, writing, level 2. Have I got a marks? No, there's no mark schemes on that. Right. I basically just want to show you the answer booklet for an article. Which one's this? Let's just have a check. Oh, that's a reading exam. That's not going to help matters. Writing. Let's find one that's an article. That's an email. It's the report, so it's not the third one. The second one is article. Here we go. So is our text of an appropriate length? It is more than 250 words, so yes, we score 1 mark. Have we given enough detail? This is why I wanted at 300 words, I would be more confident I had given, I would make it very detailed. So now, it also says the text fully meets the needs and purpose of the audience. Does it look like an article? Does it sound like an article? Is it an article? If the answer is yes, you can score 4 more marks. And then again, it says, have we got, that's what I was saying about the structure. Does it have that clear narrative, a start, a middle, and an end? Does it look right in the format? Does it have a selection of these different features? So a heading, subheading, bullet points, attribution. We've got all of those. Great start. Another 3 marks. Have we used our language and register to suit our audience and purpose? So this is always, if we are writing to people a high academic paper, our language is very different to if we are writing to children. So we need to think about, is our language understandable by everybody who reads a newspaper? In this case, yes, 2 more marks. Have we got paragraphs, and are they used appropriately? For every new subject, we started a new paragraph. 1 for the introduction, 1 for the benefits, 1 for the contact details, 1 for the why we need support, and 1 for the conclusion. And you can see I always leave 1 line space to clearly show that the information is in these areas, these paragraphs. Then it looks at whether or not we have used a variety of sentence types. So I have put a new video on YouTube, I think maybe just over a week ago, with simple, compound, and complex sentences. It's not a long video, it's only about 10 minutes, but it does show you examples of all 3 of those. Now, usually when I'm writing, I do try to use a good mixture of different sentence types. So again, we would get more marks for that. My spelling should be correct. My typing is not always correct. So it says here, for the top marks, spelling should be accurate. However, we can have one-off errors, occasional errors in spelling, as long as it doesn't change the meaning of what we are saying. The same with punctuation. If you use a range of punctuation and you use it correctly, you don't have to use absolutely every single one of these different types. It's more a case of, have you used a range and have you used it correctly? You don't have to say, I have used 1 full stop, 1 comma, 1 hyphen, 1 parentheses, 1 of the, don't worry. Grammar is the hardest one, but it's ensuring that we are making our subjects and verbs agree, so that when we are talking about a person, or in the case of this piece, let's just go back and have a look at this. Our group has been in the past helping to make the area beautiful for 15 years. We need to ensure that when we're talking about the past, all of our word endings agree. When we use the word and, a conjunction, a gluing word, because we have 2 simple sentences joining together with the word and, we said we need new volunteers regularly. We need is in the present tense, but all of the words in that part of the sentence agree. So it's ensuring that even if in this example we have the past and then we have the present, but those 2 parts of the sentence are grammatically, the subject and verb agreement, the tense agreement works. So it's ensuring that we are happy and confident with our word endings. For all of these different areas, you score marks. The total at the end will be added to the second piece that you write. Everything is put together in a total. And again, so it says here, The total marks available for this one piece is 22. If you score 13 or above in both texts that you write, you pass your exam. If you try your exam and you don't pass, that's fine. We don't expect everybody to pass it first time. We know already that sometimes there are things that can stop us from, for example, you are doing the exams at home. Technology is not always our best friend. Therefore, it can be a little bit stressful when you're setting it up. So always ensure that you're running things like your technology tests, making sure that you've read all the instructions, things like that. And then when you are ready to sit the exam, you must be in a room on your own. Make sure, especially in hot weather, you have a fan, you're comfortable, you have a drink, you have notepad and pen, things like that. And for your exams, you need your ID as well. The feedback from the exams is broken down and shows us what you have been successful in and what you potentially still need to work on. Therefore, if you don't pass the exams first time, we know exactly what to work on. And whether you're using the Atom platform or the Century platform, especially if you're using Century, I can send you activities to work on as assignments just on those areas. So you don't work through all the activities. I can send you specific work. If you're working on the Atom platform, I can just email it you. It's much easier that way. So I'm going to stop recording now and give you guys a chance to ask any questions if you have any.